Hey everyone, welcome back to another On the Sensors video here. We have a special guest. We've got Gandork with us, so very happy to have one of the ARH main admins and rules guru, Mr. Gandork. So super happy to have you, man. So thanks for agreeing to come on. So
Yeah, happy to be here anytime.
excellent, man. Well, I've just, we've been doing, all kinds of different content. We do like our open dialogue kind of podcast style videos. We do
Hmm.
our deck techs. And then lately we've been getting into these like interview style videos. So Duncan did one with um,
Hmm.
86 did one recently with Norm and Vika. And, I'm highly appreciative that you agreed to do this one with me. So, I think it's cool, man, to give people a peek behind the curtain, of somebody so well known in the community. So that's why I reached out to you. So anyway, man, yeah, maybe you could just like tell us how long you've been playing Destiny, or what maybe got you into the whole scene.
Sure. Yeah, no, I started playing Destiny as soon as it came out. Like, God, how long ago is that? It was December 2017? 16? I don't know. But anyway, like basically, I hadn't heard of the game at all until like 2 weeks before it was going to come out. In that December, and then I had heard about it, and I was like, "Oh, like again, like before prior to Destiny having like I played Magic, I played the WoW TCG for years, I played Lord of the Rings card, like I lots of card games, but I played the original Star Wars card game. Actually, it was one of my favorite
Okay.
games ever, way back in the day. But I was kind of in between games because the WoW card game was the last one I played. and it got canceled. Uh, when Hearthstone came out, they kind of discontinued the paper TCG, which was a great game, by the way. One of the great regrets of my life is that they canceled that. Very sad. So anyway, I was without a game. Like I dabbled in miniatures for I don't know a couple years since that happened, and then all of a sudden it's like Star Wars card game, and I'm like, yeah, sign me up. CCG, check the box. So yeah, like right when it came out, I was driving to every single game store in a 200-mile radius to try to get Awakenings boxes because you couldn't find them. So that was your only choice. And managed to get like a handful of Awakening stuff and just kind of went off from there.
All right. So you had a foundation in collectible card games or just card games in general.
Hmm.
Did you play competitively, or did you only start doing that when you played Destiny?
I played the WoW TCG. Well, tried to play competitively. I didn't really have like a ton of success. Like not much higher than like maybe like top half of like nationals. Maybe top tenning some like regional events, that kind of thing. But yeah, I tried to play WoW TCG competitively for I don't know, it was out for 6 7 years before they canceled it. But yeah, no, when I started Star Wars Destiny, I had made a decision when I started playing that I could go one of two ways. I could try to be that competitive player again, or I could try to just to like grow my community. And I decided, I'm gonna try to be like the community leader for this game. So I really just threw myself into that side of it locally. Getting stores up, getting weekly nights at like multiple stores going on,
Really?
getting involved online with the game. Yeah, which it ended up paying off because that kind of ended up leading into where I went, where I where I started working for FFG, started having them hire me to judge big events and so on and so forth. So
Excellent.
yeah,
See, I didn't know. I'm sure many people watching probably knew that about you. I didn't know that. That's
uh-huh.
awesome, man. So I knew you were involved at some point in some official capacity with
Hmm.
FFG, like at events as sort of like the rules guru or judge. But I didn't
Right.
realize it all started with just your sort of activism, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really really weird story. Like I have no idea. Like lightning in a bottle wouldn't happen again, but like it literally just started. I think out of nowhere. I was having like I was going through the rules things, had a bunch of rules questions, trying to help with people rules online. And I sent an email to FFG had they probably still have it, but they had just generally like if you have a rules question, like generic email address, and I sent
Right.
an email to it, and those emails apparently like FFG wise, like they weren't answered by like some customer service person. They would forward them to the game designers, and then you'd get an answer from the game designer eventually. So the original game designer of Destiny, Lucas Litzinger, I can never pronounce that right. responded back with like, answered my questions on rule questions. And then I just responded to him, said, "Hey, I'd be really interested in like getting into playtest or anything like that if you have an opening."
Ah.
And he was like, "Well, sure. You seem awesome, at least with these rule questions things." So then they got me a playtest application, and I was brought on to just playtest, and I was helping do that. I don't know, starting Empire at War Legacies areas when I started doing that. Um, and then after a while of just playtesting and making posts on there, when Jeremy Zwern, the second lead designer for Destiny, started moving into his position with
Mhm.
Way of the Force was his first set. He just sent me an email randomly going, "You seem like you know this rule stuff really good, and I don't know it all that well. It's not my strong point. So how about we just would you like to make some money, like tech editing sets and rules and things?" And yeah, sure. So they started like paying me on like a commission basis to like tech edit sets, starting with Way of the Force all the way through the end, and rule sets and things like that. And then that turned into, oh hey, our OP team is looking for like head judges and judges for these events. We'll pay to fly you out and put you in a hotel. You want to do that? Okay. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to conventions and
Man.
doing all that thing. And yeah, that's just kind of how it progressed. You're like, oh, okay. Feel
Yeah.
real lucky, but it's been amazing. So,
Lightning in a bottle for sure, man.
hmm
So, was that? I mean, was that a paid gig? I mean, did they fly you to these events? I mean, or did you have to sort of pay out of
yeah,
pocket?
no, it was. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like pocket a bunch of money from any of it. Like, it was a paid gig. Like, I got paid. I don't mind talking about. Like, it was literally around anywhere between $200 to $400 a set for like editing, like doing a tech editing pass on the set. So not a ton of money, but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah,
So might as well. And then
I'd have
yeah, when
asked
it
for
came to
some free booster boxes.
oh, okay, I got that too.
Oh, okay, good.
So yeah, like every set that I edited, I had they would always send me a free booster box, a free one of each of the starter decks, a free one of those things. In addition to, I could always buy product at uh wholesale straight from them. So
Nice,
yeah. So
man.
yeah, I did that. Yeah, that was like $50 a booster box is what I was buying it for the whole time. For that I worked for them. So yeah, I can't complain for that. So that helped too. That was the other part of the payment.
What would you say was the most interesting experience you had judging?
Oh, so many interesting experiences. I don't know. Yeah, there's like every single event always had its own thing. Um,
So maybe walk us through like what is that experience like? So you're sort of like waiting in the wings, right? And all of a sudden,
uh-huh.
judge, then you walk over and like what is that? What's that like?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Like, you get to a point where you hear the word judge yelled, and like it's just reflex. You start scanning the room, even if you're playing, which is the thing that happens just from hearing judge so often. I'll go into like a game store, they'll be playing Magic, and I'll hear judge, and I just head turn, can't stop it. But yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, they call you over. Like, being a judge is difficult. Like, you got to be like impartial. You got to try not to like lead players to like any sort of conclusions they wouldn't get to by themselves. Like, there's a lot of nuance to it. So like it's not just being a rules expert. So you can know the rules backwards and forwards, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like you're a good judge, because like judging is so many other things. It's customer service. You could be dealing with players that are rude. Or you could be dealing with players of all different skill levels or understanding. You have to be able to like take complex rules and break them down for some people, because they won't just,
Mhm.
there's that part of it. Like you said, when you go up to answer like a question, you have to think about stuff like, I have to answer this in such a way that I won't lead them to like some sort of conclusion, or feel like I'm coaching them. Like, you have to keep those things in the back of your mind. And then yeah, you have to be not afraid to be a jerk yourself sometimes, or at least not be afraid of what people think about you, and that comes off often, because sometimes you have to make the hard call. Sometimes you got to be tough, and
Sure.
yeah, you got to have a little bit of thick skin, because I don't know. It's like, if you look at sports refs or things, like the fans hate them. It's like they're just trying to do their jobs. Like, same thing happened in Destiny. Like, I know there's a number of people that probably hate me, from events, but like that just kind of comes with the territory.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure people couldn't help but think, or make assumptions about thinking that you had bias or you had ulterior motives, right? But at the end of the day, you're just doing your job, right? You're just trying to be impartial. So,
yeah.
people will be people, though. So, like, just fast forwarding a little bit, the big announcement, the game's coming to an end. How are you feeling then? I guess where were
Uh,
you at that stage of your Destiny, career, and like what, tell us what you were thinking.
I mean, I'm forever the optimist. So even though the writing was probably on the wall from the point of like the last worlds we had, that it wasn't looking good. Uh, I was hoping that it was all just they were just working stuff out. But yeah, then sure enough, we found out. Uh, in February of that year. I think or February of 2020, roughly. I don't know. That was a weird year, by the way, to go from well, the game's canceled. We're gonna have Worlds. Oh, COVID, Worlds is canceled. Bye. We're gone. But yeah, like okay, so that was a really weird time. So I could get into some weird drama. FFG and I actually had a small falling out uh, around afterworlds. So they weren't going to have me judge the final worlds anyway. Like they didn't want me to judge anymore due to me making some enemies with some people. We can get into that if you want. I don't mind. Uh, but yeah, and then so like heading into like January, February, knowing that we were going to have like a May Worlds, I was actually all planning on just going and playing the final worlds and being a player and having fun that way.
Hmm.
And I even went and won a regional in Utah, so I was qualified and everything.
Nice.
But yeah, then we found out it was canceled and like yeah, immediate like gut punch.
How did you get involved with ARH? There's now a glimmer of hope, right? I'm sure many people are
Right.
just totally bummed, and then all of a sudden, um, yeah, how did that happen?
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously through my experiences in a judge thing, like I've been in all of the circles, the niches of players, the cliques, however you wanted to split them up, like all of them knew me. So, yeah, like when God, I don't even remember who initially started. It was like either Lanza and the Entourage Gaming Group were like, yeah, we want to do a continuation committee, and they got with like a bunch of the artificery people that definitely wanted to make it happen. And there was even some hyperloops, like Mike and them were kind of a little bit involved early on. So it was kind of just like all the bigger content creator groups just kind of all joined up. We're like, we're gonna do this, and yeah, obviously they all reached out to me like, obviously if we're going to do a continuation committee, we got to get the Gandork, in there to help us with rule stuff going forward. So yeah, like it was pretty. As soon as they reached out to me, like, hey, would this be interested? Of course, obviously, I'm down for keeping the game going.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Why not? So yeah, then just yeah, and early, I wasn't involved much in like the actual like formation of things, other than they said yeah, get in here, and then I was brought in. But like as far as the organization, like the structure of ARH, like I didn't set that up. That like all goes back to Lanza and Cruisin, and Agent of Zion primarily for getting the ball rolling, and then we've had like. Uh, we had there's so many people in the Destiny community that made this work for us. Like it wasn't just a small group of guys, because we do have like our admin group, but then like in order to get us started, we had like an accountant offer accounting services to like help us get all this stuff is above board and legit as we can. We had legal counsel come in and be like, I'll pro bono offer you legal
Wow.
services for any legal questions or issues that arise that you come up against. So we had that, and
And were these
yep,
Destiny players who like their
yep,
day jobs were accountant and attorney?
yep, exactly. Yeah, just
Man,
Destiny players were like, I'm an accountant, I'm an attorney, and that's just kind
nice.
of how like all of ARH kind of like went along. Like I was hey, this guy was already the rules editor, might as well have him in here, kind of thing. We got our production people of were people that had day jobs of being graphics artists and worked in that area, and they're like, we also play Destiny, let us help you make your cards look awesome. um, yeah, and that's just kind of how it went together. And I mean, I'm in the admin group. We have 7 people in the admin group, but all the admin group really means is that we just have kind of a voice for high level decisions. Like there's not a single person in the admin group that's like in charge of anything. We're all kind of just an even democracy, just to because you have to have someone be able to make decisions in an endeavor like this. So we happen to be the lucky people in there to get to make those decisions. But
Yeah, excellent, man. So on that note, I mean, I've always been curious because actually, as you know, when Duncan interviewed him, he mentioned the same thing. You know, the sort of the it's almost like a council, right? There's no
right.
singular, you know, head at the top of the pyramid, so to speak. So like,
Mm-mm.
what do you guys do when you're at like a pivotal moment? You know, when you want to decide, you know, what do we do next, or what's our theme, or like how does all that stuff get decided? Is it like do you literally vote, or you know, or you just put it in
Yeah.
queue?
No, there's definitely like some things where we kind of put it up to a vote. See majority rules. I think on a lot of the bigger picture things, we're all kind of in sync. Like there hasn't been very many like big picture type like how do we envision this working out type of things where we've just all had very strong differing opinions, which I think is been a huge part of why we've worked and haven't had splinter groups or things like that, is because we all look at ARH as like very similarly or with the same goals. Mostly the voting things comes down to like really small things like what are we going to name this set? Like here's the things going down, and even I don't know, even stuff like name a set. We're very like I would say as a leadership group, like we like to delegate everything that we can to certain people. So even decisions. So like a lot of times it's not voting to name a set or what's going to be the theme of this set. We'll vote for a lead designer for the set of like here's people that have put in applications, the experience they've had. Like we're going to vote this person as the lead designer, and then we fully entrust that, giving them the responsibility of
Yeah.
they can name their set, they can design the set that they want to do, and from that point admin's very hands off. Unless we are forced to come in because there's some sort of problem that needs to get overcome, or something's not working, which really hasn't happened. Like I mean, yeah, it's just I don't know what those situations would be like. Maybe like there's been some instances where maybe a designers would butt heads over like ideas, and then admin kind of like is the deciding factor there. But that's kind of the
Sure.
dynamic. Like we don't try to vote on like what production's going to do. Like who we have a guy Solace who goes and finds like art images, stills and things, and like we just let him do what he's good at. And I think that's the best leadership kind of thing. And that's
Yeah.
is if you can just be good at picking people that are good at what they do, and then just get out of their way. So
Yep.
as an admin group, that's really what we try to do.
Okay. Hey, I'm an HR guy. I can appreciate that. That was a well
Right.
well said. You
Yeah.
trust your people.
Uh-huh.
So we've had Agent of Zion was the lead designer for Faltering Allegiances.
Mhm.
Elrath did Redemption.
Mhm.
Aaron on High Stakes.
Yep.
So you know, will the designers, the lead set designers, always be part of the core seven, or will you grant that?
Uh
Or is that too soon to tell?
no. I will say
Huh?
no. I don't know if I can officially announce the next set designer, but I will say that the next set designer is not part of the core seven.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
they'll probably get announced soon. I don't have clearance to say that, but yeah, definitely not part of the core seven. Definitely wasn't a requirement to be part of the core seven. Other than I think just with the first few people. And Aaron was actually kind of late to the admin group, and even Elrathian actually came a little bit late to the initial group. So like it was kind of more of a they were really interested and were aiming toward design, and then they were also like so very involved that we could use more admins to help with various parts that they got in there too. So it was kind of column A, column B. um, they weren't necessarily they were probably more interested in design, and then we brought them on as an admin than they were an admin, and we gave them the design spot definitely in
Got it.
those instances. So
So we can start to wrap up. You know, Mr. Gandork, what do you think is the the future of the game? You know, we've got ARH in place. We've got solid structure. You know, 3 sets under your belt. You know, a community that seems pretty strong. I mean, where do you see? I mean, obviously we've got OP right on things are starting to pick up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, just not even specific to OP, but where in general, where do you see the game, going?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, we like to leave a lot in just the hands of the designers where they want to take their game. I know at some point in the future, like rotation needs to be a thing that happens, or like we need to try to get out of like some of these convergence blocks cards. Because I think like to some extent like the block, like you look at Magic stuff, and like Magic has years and years and years and years of sets that they can build off, and they can like make a core set that's like a small snippet of like reprints of cards, and it works, and they can have like a unique format. But Destiny's weird in that we didn't really have that many sets, and like the convergence cycle, like having that convergence block like dictates a whole meta, like because there's so much stuff in there that will constantly dictate a meta until we rotate it out.
Right.
So like that needs to get addressed at some point. We have some ideas we're floating on what that'll look like, but on the other side, we also don't want to get to a point where there are like no legal FFG cards, because I mean that's the game everybody still wants to play. So we need to have like a list of you know evergreen, always legal cards, and what does
Hmm.
that look like? And that's actually really hard to do. Like people have ideas. It's like try to go pick out like a set of cards that aren't so strong that they end up warping whatever meta you put them into.
Right.
Is not an easy task. For at least trying to make an open, design play field for your future designers. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
Um,
I've seen some people
but
float some ideas, even throw some spreadsheets together and things to try to help, so I can't. That's Yeah, I don't envy that
yeah,
task.
yeah, people have done, but like even the simplest thing, they're like, "Oh, electroshock seems like an easy reprint," and then I'm like, "But you have to think like, can you do something better than electroshock? If not, this card is going to be like a two of in every single like yellow deck going forward, and it's warping the meta to that extent. Like
Hmm.
those are the kind of people have a tendency to grab stuff that's too good but just seems staple when they make those lists, and like it's not necessarily bad, but like some of the most common cards that people grab, like Hidden Motive and Forsaken and Electroshock, I'm like, no, those cards are actually really good and hard to improve on, and they're gonna like you can't make a removal better than that because Electroshock's just too good. But I don't know. There's all kinds of things you can go on with that, at least from a design
Yeah,
perspective. But
of
yeah,
course.
and then as far as like where the set, the design goes, that's going to be up to the lead designer. Like, um, I hope we just keep trying more and more and more ambitious things. Like, we're not, we don't push the designers too much. I mean, we had some like big rules for our early designers, like we weren't going to touch, things that might have come out in Wild Horizons, and we weren't going to touch like uh like yeah, I don't know, like super elites or new colors or things like that. Like there are some big type rules we put on the designers, but I think as we go to new sets, you're going to see some of those get lax to like maybe we will get a new color, maybe we'll sky's the limit. Like
Hmm.
once the farther we get away from FFG, I think the more freedom we have
Yeah, of
to do
course.
those kinds of things. Um,
Does the quick question, does the designer pick the theme?
yeah,
So
yeah,
like
the designer.
Mando, pirate stuff, that kind of thing?
Yep. The designer, head designer, and whoever they pick for the design team, they pick the theme. That is not dictated by anyone in admin. Um, yeah, early on, I think we definitely had no Mando stuff in the first two sets intentionally, as a rule, because maybe if you've seen certain leaks, there might have been some Mando stuff that we didn't know were going to come out
Yeah.
in some leak set.
Yep.
So it's just kind of a thing of like, this might still happen. So let's not touch this stuff, because if it does, like, we don't want to have like 80 billion Mando cards all of a sudden in a meta, um, of various types. But yeah, obviously the Mando restriction has been lifted. And I expect that going forward. So if people want to see stuff from Mando, that's going to happen. And yeah, and I hope to see stuff from other forms of media like comics and stuff. But that gets hard because we run into issues where we just don't have artwork. I know people like, why don't you get like the High Republic and like this comic stuff? And it's like we just don't have the artwork for it. And we have some weird rule. Like I don't know, people think it's weird, but like we have some lines we won't cross. Where like we're fine taking stills from movies and TV shows and art, putting an art filter on them, doing some image altering on those. But like we don't want to take art from artists to some extent, if that makes sense. Like a
Yeah,
comic book has a singular artist that like drew that art, or like there's people out on the internets on various sites where you can find like Star Wars art that they've done, and we won't just take it without permission in those cases. And I know
yeah,
it's just a weird line because you're like, well, technically a TV show or movie is art too, like, and you're stealing that, but I don't just like you have to draw a line somewhere. Like that's IP that tons of people made versus like a comic book that had like one artist that drew all these pictures. Probably most excited to me is to see if we can get some more in-person play stuff happening, like in
yeah,
real life. See if I can get my play group back to a store. We have the OP kits out there. The cards look amazing. Our art team does amazing work on the OP kits.
yeah. Looking forward to that
Um,
second OP kit. Yeah, that as announced. So that's gonna be nice.
yeah, and yeah, well, hopefully we have some LVO news. I think is still the big convention that we're eyeballing to have an official in real life, ARH Worlds. I guess it'll be. I guess we're calling. I don't know if we're calling it Worlds or what we're calling it, but
Hmm.
uh, that will be in January of next year, and nothing set in stone yet. We're still just trying to contact them, and see what we're able to do, but. That's still the thing that, as far as like an official large ARH event, that's what we're looking at is LVO and seeing if we can get in there. Hopefully, it's far. Next January is far enough past all this crazy COVID stuff that that's not even something anybody has to worry about as far as traveling.
Yep.
I know
Fingers crossed,
there's
man.
yeah, there's still a lot of countries where people are like, "Well, I can't travel to the U.S. because my country won't let me travel back," and like stuff now that prevent us. But yeah, plus LVO's in Vegas, which I love that convention. It is such an awesome convention. If you've never gone,
Well,
it's
cool,
on the
man.
horizon.
This has been awesome. Let's any final words before I let you go, Gandork?
Um, I am way behind on rule questions today. I've been busy at work. Was watching that rules channel ticker just go up, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to wait in there at some point and settle some of these disputes
Yeah.
that have been going all day long. But yeah, and other than that, I got to figure out something to play tomorrow. I'm gonna be playing tomorrow night for the first time in I don't know a couple months. I took a little hiatus from Destiny. I was getting a little burnt out. I don't know. It was like right after like Redemption came out, and I'd put into like a bunch of long hours on Redemption, and Zion was like off doing his Navy thing, so he was like gone from the admin team, and he usually helped us update the TTS app.
Yeah.
So like there was a period for like the whole month in January I was like updating TTS mods and editing and like reviewing final cards, and like then I had to like run the release event, and then I like the few weeks after that I was trying to play, and then I was like, I'm just real tired. I need to like take a step back. I'm over Destinied
Yeah.
essentially.
Hey,
You can
man.
get to that point.
You deserve a break. It's all good.
Yeah.
We'll forgive you.
But I'm excited to get back in tomorrow night. I'm gonna play some high stakes, and I don't have any decks put together, so I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
gonna play.
Yeah.
Either
Yeah.
I'll
I've been
put together something weird, or I'm gonna look at all the lists from this past weekend and find something
right.
to tweak.
Yeah. I didn't see anyone play Kiadi Mundi in the release event.
Yeah, right.
So yeah. So I built a Elite Kiadi Mundi, Elite Jedi Apprentice, single Jedi Apprentice. So it's a 5 die start.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It's fun. You
It's
know,
fine.
playing
It's
stuff from
fun.
the discard pile. Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
hey man, greatly appreciate it. This has been fantastic. So yeah, I think with that we will go ahead and close out. So again, many
All right.
thanks to you, Gandork. Appreciate it, man. All right, guys, appreciate your time, and we'll catch you on the next one. So take care.